right, group. I had a brain fart. Um, Today was Friday, and we do top 10 on Friday. Um, and I neglected to do that. I was in a hurry to get podcast done, and I totally forgot about top 10. I was rushed, and I just wasn't paying attention. So my apologies. However, we're going to make up for it right now, and we're going to do top 10. So welcome to Beezy Stream of Consciousness podcast. This is episode 14, believe it or not, coming to you from Starbase One studio. And this is courtesy of Podbean and Audacity with musical interludes by Soundroll. Definitely appreciate their input at the beginning and the end of our podcast. So, but we're going to get into the top 10 for this week. We have done the top 10 Dallas Cowboys quarterbacks. We've done top 10 Rush songs. And today we're going to do the top 10 concerts that Beezy, yours truly, has been to. I am Beezy, and this is our podcast, Stream of Consciousness. So stay tuned, and we'll get into that top 10. Okay, we are going to do this unscripted. I just have an outline to remind me of the dates and the artists of the top 10 concerts that I have attended in my brief and exciting 58 years. I haven't been to a lot of concerts, but the ones I've been to have been more or less memorable, and I will share them with you. So number 10 on our hit parade is the Little River Band and Rick Springfield at Arbor Days in Addison, Texas in 2002. Little River Band, many of you will remember from back in the 70s and 80s. They've gone through several different iterations over their long and successful career. They are out of Australia, and as far as I know, they're still active. They're still touring in some form or fashion, and they're one of my favorite bands. I still remember Help Is On Its Way. Good Lord. The others are escaping me, but I did enjoy that in my youth. But they were present at Arbor Days. That's an annual thing, I think, in September. This particular Arbor Days was held in Addison, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas, if you're unfamiliar. But Little River Band was there, and Rick Springfield was there. So Little River Band, it wasn't the original lineup, obviously. They back in '02, they had been around for, 30, close to 30 years. So they're on, I think, their third or fourth lead singer, and anyway, it's a different lineup, but still the music is great. Always enjoyed that, but Rick Springfield, I just got to tell you, that was a different show. Little River Band was great, and if you've never been to an Arbor Days, they've got it's kind of like a fair. I mean, they've got booths set up. There are different activities you can do. It's outside. You can get all kinds of different foods. Bring the kids, and it's a lot of fun. And so they had music there, and Little River Band was there, and Rick Springfield was there. And for those of you who might not be familiar, Rick Springfield is a star from the 80s, 70s, and 80s. He was on soap opera. He was quite the musical star in the early 80s. Came out with a couple of hit records, and had a couple of great singles. I mean, he's an accomplished musician. I mean, he's all that bag of chips. However, in later years, he's kind of gone this second or tertiary circuit, playing, these different venues and events like Arbor Days. I don't mean to throw down on Arbor Days. It's a fun thing to go to, and I'm glad I went, and I'd go again. But I mean, it's not like playing, um, over at playing the Cotton Bowl or playing Globe Life Field or one of those big arena type venues that you remember from the 70s and 80s where you'd have 70 or 80 or 90,000 people there to see a headliner and their opening band. So anyway, he's kind of relegated to that, and it's okay. I mean, it's great. I appreciate he's one of, I call him my old rockers, and so always enjoy seeing what he's up to. However, at this particular venue and this particular time, he showed up, and I think he'd been enjoying some adult beverages and was somewhat in his cups. So he gets up there, and a lot of because of who he was back in the 70s and 80s, he was a bit of a heartthrob, and so a lot of the audience there were, women in their late 30s, 40s, 50s that had, really had watched him on General Hospital, in their youth, and remembered his albums from the early 80s and Jesse's Girl and Don't Talk to Strangers and those singles. And they remembered that. And but anyway, they were there with their kids. And so anyway, Rick gets up there, and he's not totally coherent. Anyway, he gets up there, and he's playing songs, and in between songs he's talking to the audience, and his language gets a little blue, a little colorful, and he starts dropping F-bombs, and you have never seen a group of middle-aged women get so disappointed and angry because the kids were there. Never poke Mama Bear when she's around the cubs. So anyway, that is number 2 or number 10 on our hit parade, Little River Band and Rick Springfield at Arbor Days in '02. I was there. Number 9 on our hit parade is the Beach Boys and Herman's Hermits at Arlington Stadium back in 1986. This is the old Arlington Stadium. This is the what had been a minor league baseball stadium in Arlington, there at Copeland and Interstate 30, that hosted the Texas Rangers from 1972 to, I guess, 1993. But anyway, this was back in, I think, '86, and the Rangers were going to play their game, and then at the end of the game, they were going to set up a stage at second base, and there were going to be a variety of musical acts that were going to come out and play for those that wanted to stick around. The headliner of the act, obviously, was the Beach Boys. I mean, and the Beach Boys are the Beach Boys. I mean, and they always have been and always will be. And, I mean, that's a big deal. Lee Greenwood was there, I think. Herman's Hermits were there. There were 2 or 3 other acts. I don't remember. My involvement in that was that back at that time, my father was a AMC Jeep Renault automobile dealer in Fort Worth, among other brands. But for our purposes, the Renault, which was a French brand that is no longer offered in this country. However, Dad was a dealer for Renault products in those days, and one of the new offerings of that make was the Renault Alliance, and we call it the Renault Appliance. But anyway, it was a little sedan, kind of nondescript. But anyway, they had a they had a sedan, they had a coupe, and they also had a convertible. And so the local AMC Jeep Renault dealers, uh, their advertising group for Tarrant County, and I think Dallas as well, um, were to contribute a Renault Alliance convertible. Um, a representative from each dealer was to drive one of their cars, one of their convertibles, out to the stadium. And then once the Beach Boys were done, since they were the last act to play, somebody from each dealership in one of their convertibles would drive out from center field to second base to the stage, pick up one of the Beach Boys, and then drive them back in the convertible um, under the stands and then drop them off at their bus or whatever. And so um, I volunteered to do that. So, went to the ball game, and I don't even remember who the Rangers were playing. I don't remember who won, who lost. I really didn't care. And um, so I had to stick around. I had to drive the my the alliance from our dealership. I had to drive it around the warning track, in line with the other dealers in their cars, and then drive out after the concert to center field, and then one of the Beach Boys would jump in and we would drive them off. Well, I happened to get Al Jardine, and I didn't know who he was. I mean, I knew who Mike Love was, and I knew who Brian Wilson was, but I couldn't remember Al Jardine's name. Well, anyway, he jumps in, and I'm sitting there going, man, I'm driving one of the Beach Boys. And so we're driving slowly back to the center field bleachers, and he says, hey, what kind of car is this? And I said, oh, it's an Alliance, it's a Renault Alliance. And he says, oh, that's cool. And by that time we were under the stands, and he jumped out. He said, I'll see you later. And off he went. So that was my that was my 15 seconds of fame, driving Al Jardine from the stage to the center field bleachers at Arlington Stadium in 1986. So that's number 9 on our hit parade, the Beach Boys and Herman's Hermits at Arlington Stadium. So number 8's kind of a weird one. This one was 38 Special, and I always loved 38 Special, still do. They had a string of hits in the early and mid 80s. Haven't heard a whole lot from them since, and part of it you'll understand. The last time that I saw them was at the Texas State Fair on the big Chevy stage back, I think I'm not sure the date, I think it was 2007. I was there with my daughter Layla, and I forget what we were there, why she and I went in one of it's not one of the normal entrances, but we were there for something other than just going to the fair. And we went into this entrance, and there on the Chevy stage, which is the big stage at the State Fair, was 38 Special. And I stopped and said, Layla, that's 38 Special. And they were playing, one of the hits, Caught Up in You, or one of the other ones, Wild-Eyed Southern Boys. I don't remember which one. And I'm just standing there going, wow, that's 38 Special. Anyway, we stood and listened to that. It really wasn't a concert that I attended, but it was a live music thing, with one of my beloved 80s acts. So that's number 8 on our hit parade, 38 Special at the Texas State Fair back in '07, if I'm correct. Number 7 on our top 10 is Bruce Springsteen, the Boss, at the Cotton Bowl in 1986. I went with my friend Sean. Big shout out to Sean. Love him and love my other great childhood friends, Zip and Sean. Went and had lunch with them not too long ago, and we've been friends for a long, long time, the three of us. So, but anyway, Sean and I don't know how we got tickets. I think Sean swung them, but we went to see the Boss at the Cotton Bowl in 1986, and I, I don't know if any of y'all have been to the Cotton Bowl. I'm sure some of y'all have, either for Texas OU weekend or the Cotton Bowl game itself, or any of the other events going on there. But it's a big old stadium. It dates back to the 30s, and so in one end zone was the stage, and had it set up. It occupied most of the end zone. There was a big screen, jumbotron or whatever, right behind the stage. But our seats were at the top of the stands of the other end zone. So we were as far away from the stage as you possibly could get. And everybody on stage, including Springsteen, including um, little Stephen Van Zandt, um, uh, all the other members of the E Street Band, they all looked like ants from where we were sitting. I mean, the only saving grace was the jumbotron we could see, you know, kind of see from there. So we're sitting up there, and about halfway through the show, we went to get something to eat or go to the bathroom or whatever, and it turned out that there were several unoccupied seats under the home side grandstands and closer to the stage. So we got halfway closer, and we were able to watch it with a bunch of other people, most of them about twice our age. So anyway, that was Springsteen at the Cotton Bowl in 1986. That's number 7. Number 6 is another kind of weird deal. It was Peter Noon. I told you that we saw Herman's Hermits back in '86 when we saw the Beach Boys at Arlington Stadium. I don't remember if Peter Noon was there. I know that Herman's Hermits, like a lot of bands, uh, they had they people split off from them and did their own thing, and some iteration of the band still existed. For example, like today, Styx, the founding member of Styx, or one of the founding members of Styx, Dennis DeYoung, is no longer a member of the band. Tommy Shaw, who came on, several years after the band was formed, he actually runs the band now, and Dennis DeYoung, whom I think they fired, he runs kind of a quasi Styx band. It's called Dennis DeYoung singing the music of Styx, and he goes on tour and does his thing, plays the music, most of what he wrote, and then the trying to remember the other band members' names, uh, James Young, Tommy Shaw, all the rest of them. They 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 remain the nucleus of Styx, and they are still touring. So you have basically two versions of Styx out there playing, and it's kind of the same way with Herman's Hermits. You got Herman's Hermits. I don't even know who is fronting that, but that used to be Peter Noon, and but when I saw him, he was operating under his own name, and he was singing a lot of the music of Herman's Hermits. He had split from the original band, and this was back in the early aughts. I think it was around 2003, and he was playing with the Garland Symphony Orchestra. My sister-in-law was working for the orchestra at that time, and somehow was able to swing having my daughters, Layla and Paige, hand out programs, and so the rest of the family got tickets to go see, and it was neat. A lot of the old rockers, like I talked about, they uh, they'll tour with an orchestra, or they'll guest star with particular orchestras and so forth, and it's kind of cool. So, seeing him, you know, play the music of that actually predates me, that my brother and sisters listened to before I was even born. And I remember told my dad, I said, hey, Dad, you're not going to believe who I went and saw last night. He says, who's that? I said, Peter Noon of Herman's Hermits. He says, is he still alive? So anyway, that's number 6 on our hit parade is Peter Noon of Herman's Hermits, not necessarily with Herman's Hermits at this time. So, and then number 5, many of you have seen them. It's the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. We saw them at the American Airlines Center in 2018. They need no introduction. Just a great show. And it was 3 hours of just great music, lots of pyrotechnics, lots of visuals, and it was just a great show. I just can't say enough about Trans-Siberian, and I'm glad we were able to do that, and I hope I get to see him again. Very interesting story about how they were formed, and how they put their shows on, and how they've continued, and despite their some tragedies within the TSO family and so forth. So, but number 5 was Trans-Siberian Orchestra at the AAC in 2018. Number 4 is our good friends KISS, Gene Simmons and the Lads. Saw them at Tarrant County Convention Center in 1986. This is when they were in their no makeup iteration, and so that was very interesting. I think that was the Tears Are Falling or Lick It Up tour, and it was at Tarrant County. And the reason that they were there instead of Reunion Arena in Dallas, where most of the acts of those days the big acts I'm talking about would appear, is because Reunion would not allow pyrotechnics, and of course pyrotechnics are a big part of KISS's show, and it was definitely a memorable show. The ironic thing, or I guess one of the things of note, is that every female, it seemed like, in the audience, whether they were 10 years old or 70 years old, were all dressed in leather and chains, and it was crazy. I'd never seen anything like that. Gene Simmons popped a string in mid solo. His bass guitar he was playing was shaped like a battle axe. He just took it off, threw it down onto the stage, stood there with his arms folded until a roadie brought out another guitar that was fully stringed, and of course the fans loved that. Anyway, it was a great show. I'm glad I got to see them, and so that's number 4, KISS at the Tarrant County Convention Center in 1986. Number 3 is our old friend Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin, but this was in 1987 at Reunion Arena. His Led Zeppelin days were long gone, but he had a very successful solo career going on. It was a wonderful show, a lot of fun. He also did a set he called it the Honey Drippers set. That's where he played the set of the songs off of his EP of the Honey Drippers that he did, I think, in 85, where he did covers of some, they weren't classic rock songs, they go back further than that. So Sea of Love, that's just a wonderful song that that's one of the few where the cover was, in my opinion, better than the original. So, but that is number 3 on our hit parade. Robert Plant at Reunion Arena, 1987. Number 2 is actually could have been 2 different shows. There was Triumph, Canadian power trio that I saw at Reunion back in 1985 and 1987. It's just great rockers. I mean, Triumph was actually the first show I saw in September of 1985. Molly Hatchet opened for them, had lousy seats at Reunion, but it was still a great experience. First time I'd ever been to a concert, and it was their Thunder 7 show, and I just really enjoyed that. And I went with my good friend Sean, I told you about. Um, Went to a subsequent show a couple of years later with my friend Bill, and for their Sport of Kings tour, and just a very enjoyable show. I mean, they've got a great set list. Three guys just playing very well. Rick Emmett, um, um, Gilmore, and Mike Levine. They just wonderful performers, and just always enjoyed their music. Magic Power, Good Fight, Fight the Good Fight, Hold On, Never Surrender, and all of the songs off of Thunder 7, which was just a wonderful album. So that was number two, was Triumph at Reunion Arena, both in '85 and '87. And that brings us to number one. Numero uno on the hit parade is Rush, as you can imagine, my favorite band. I saw them three times at Reunion, in '86, '87, and '89. Those guys just put on a clinic. I mean, they're great. I'm trying to remember their opening acts. I know Tommy Shaw opened for them one year. I had front row tickets one year. Me and Sean, we were standing right in front of Alex Lifeson, and that was just a wonderful show. But also saw them in nosebleed, saw them in the middle of the floor one show, and they put on the best way I can put it is they just put on a musical clinic. I mean, they're such great musicians. They're they're perfectionists in their craft, and they are bound and determined at every show to just give it everything that they got for their fans. Really appreciate that. Neil's drum solos are legendary, and but the music, the visuals, the lasers, the whole experience was just wonderful, and really I miss them so much. Um, they retired in 2015 after over 40 years of being in the business, and then 4 years ago we lost Neil to brain cancer. So we'll never see Rush again in that same lineup and iteration, but we've got several videos. I have many memories, many fond memories of seeing them in person, and there's an entire cottage industry of Rush fanatics, and I consider myself proudly one of them, that hold their memories near and dear, and um, with the magic of YouTube and the interwebs, all of their recent tours um, are memorialized, and you can go back and watch any of them. They made I think from the early '90s on, they when they would put out an album, they would of course do their tour in support of it, but they would also do a live album as well. So there are several where you can go back and see them in action, and I often do that on YouTube, and go back and look at those videos, and just enjoy those, watching them play and remembering when I saw them in person. So number one is Rush, the three shows that I saw at Reunion in a 3-year period. So, but that is our top 10. I neglected to do, and in an earlier show that I normally do on Friday. So I'm glad I was able to do that as episode 14. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. We're not going to do story time tonight. Got too much to do. But I did want to tell you that be on the lookout on my YouTube channel. I'm putting together some music reaction videos, and I probably sound very quaint. I'm sure that's not what the young people call them, but that's what I call them. And I'm going to be critiquing and commenting on some of my favorite music and music videos and so forth. Hopefully, I won't get in trouble with the suits and the beards, as John Hill calls them. But be on the lookout for that. That's going to be on my YouTube channel here in the next couple of days. So, on behalf of my staff here at Starbase One, I do want to wish you a good evening, a good weekend, and live long and prosper. I'll talk to you again soon.